LeQuint Allen's suspension has rightfully so been the talk of Syracuse athletics for the last few days. I've gone too long without bringing it up on the show, and today we dive into that. Some of the details, some of my thoughts, and some things that I think you should be looking for moving forward as a result of the situation. It's your Locked On Syracuse Thursday. We have a lot to talk about, so let's get right to it.
You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up? What's happening? Welcome into your Locked On Syracuse Thursday episode. I'm Owen Valentine saying thank you so much for making Locked On Syracuse your first listen today and every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Not my favorite topic or my favorite type of episode to do is the more hard-hitting news stories, because typically your bigger news stories coincide with big issues and big concerns, and they are by no means my forte in terms of my time learning journalism, my time studying journalism at Syracuse. But I'll do my best to throw on the more news reporting side of things today for a little bit, and then we'll dive into some opinions. But basically, LeQuint Allen's suspension, and for those of you who don't know at this point, LeQuint Allen has reportedly been suspended for the fall and spring semesters of this year as a result of an alleged physical altercation or reported physical altercation that happened in early December, where reports say, and Allen's affidavit says that he was going back to defend a teammate of his, theoretically Deuce Chestnut. And to go back and defend Deuce after, I guess, someone was maybe picking a fight with a football team or picking a fight with Deuce for whatever reason, and went back to the gathering, and a fight broke out. And Allen is not here to decide or to, claim that he wasn't a part of it, but a fight did happen. And as a result, Syracuse University decided to suspend LeQuint Allen for the spring or the fall of 2023 and the spring of 2024 semesters. Now, I'm not here to give you those details. Those details were done incredibly and beautifully by Emily Leiker of Syracuse.com. If you need the details, if you're curious about the details, please go and read the article that has been continuously updated for the past 3 or 4 days, or the past 2 days at this point, titled "Inside the Punch and Punishment That Put LeQuint Allen's Syracuse Season in Jeopardy." It has been consistently updated by Leiker and Ann Hayes, who I believe is Syracuse.com's court reporter, to give you the latest on the situation, the most news on the situation, and every detail that you can get public access to. That is through affidavits, that is through court reportings, that is through other conversations and details that have emerged from wherever. That is one of, if not the most comprehensive articles that you can get, that details the timeline of everything that happens from that night in early December, or that early morning in early December, to where we stand now, where there were court filings, I believe Monday evening or Monday night, or that could have been Sunday, I forget exactly when, that allowed Syracuse.com's reporting, and they've done an incredible job with this, to lead to the fact that this does surround Syracuse football. So a few things. Right now, LeQuint Allen is not playing football for Syracuse next season. This season that is coming up, where spring season is rapidly approaching, LeQuint Allen, as of this point, will not be participating for Syracuse as a result of this incident. Now, whether that is right or wrong, that is the current shakeup. And that is what you're starting to look at and starting to figure out at this point in time. And that is a significant impact for Syracuse football, without question, as LeQuint Allen is the heir to Sean Tucker's running back position. After you had an incredible career out of Tucker, LeQuint Allen showed in the bowl game this year, in the Pinstripe Bowl, that he's right there. He can jump in, fill the shoes, and continue to see solid running back play for Syracuse University. As a result of this ruling, that is not what you're about to see. And I think the bigger deal here, and where you really do need to focus, is the fact that this ruling has the potential to genuinely ruin LeQuint Allen's life. And I don't think I exaggerate in making that take and making that claim. This ruling has the potential to ruin his life. It was mentioned in these reports that LeQuint Allen cannot afford to attend Syracuse University without his scholarship money that he will not have access to as a result of the suspension, which means that he loses out on the education portion of the student-athlete situation here. He also is losing a very, very valuable year in a running back's career. Running back careers in the NFL, as we learned, as we know, are incredibly short-lived. The lifespan of an NFL running back is only a few seasons. And you've got so much running back turnover year to year. And really, barring a few extenuating circumstances, a 4 or 5 year lifespan or shelf life in the league, which means that you forfeiting a year of showing what you can do costs you contractually at the next level. If you can't show in year 2 so that you can be, a junior year draft pick, and you got to come back for year 4, that is a year that you could be making millions at the next level. That is the type of impact that this has on the life of LeQuint Allen. An individual who seems like has throughout this entire process put his hand up and said, hey, I'm in the wrong. I shouldn't have gone back. We should have handled the situation in other ways, avoided the conflict. I should have called DPS, 911, whatever. But he did say he went back and was approached and reportedly struck first by another individual at this party. It's a kid that's taking ownership for what he's done, which was hit the kid back, struck him a few times per his own words. A kid who said, hey, I made a mistake one day in December. Do what needs to be done. I accept that you will do the right thing in terms of this hearing. And what we've seen out of Syracuse University is that from everything that we've gotten access to publicly, through reports, through court orders, through court reports, whatever, that LeQuint Allen is the only one who has faced any repercussion for the situation. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we continue our chat around the impacts of this LeQuint Allen suspension, what we can see moving forward, how this appeal might go, and some other things that I just want to get off my chest with regards to the situation and how things stand. But let's talk a little bit about FanDuel Sportsbook. Take your first swing at betting MLB on FanDuel and get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets up to $200. That means you place a $20 bet and you will land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's $200 you can spend betting everything from the money line to the over-under to who you think is going to hit the first home run of the game. All of that on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Plus, when you win, you can get paid instantly. There's no better place to bet on MLB than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So sign up today. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get up to $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball. All right, Owen Valentine here on your Locked On Syracuse Thursday episode, breaking down the LeQuint Allen suspension situation and offering my thoughts on an odd and worrisome and I don't know, confusing and frustrating. There are so many words that you can insert there for this decision because it seems so one-sided, and it seems like LeQuint Allen said, "Hey, I messed up." And he is being suspended for 2 full semesters for what seems like as simple of a fight as you can get into, right? I went to Syracuse. I spent 4 years at Syracuse. I attended parties. I was in, multiple parties at the UV apartments where the reported incident happened. Are there discrepancies at parties where you are in an environment, right? A college environment, a college party environment where you have young kids, young adults who are, especially younger students experiencing their first glimpses of freedom, right? There is theoretically, I'm not saying this exact instance, but alcohol involved, people under the influence of whatever, high egos, high energy, a lot going on, and a discrepancy breaks out. And it seems like someone was going after Syracuse football, and Deuce Chestnut was one of the first involved, who has now transferred away. Is this a part of it? Possibly. That's a story for another time. Terry Lockett reportedly has some involvement. There was some sort of police involvement or charge or whatever. I don't know the exact details of that. It seems like someone had it out for Syracuse football on this given day. And Syracuse football, as a result, loses LeQuint Allen for 2 semesters, where the other individual involved in the altercation has lacked ownership, has not put his hand up, didn't show up to hearings. Apparently, per Syracuse University, it's LeQuint Allen's job to coordinate with the other side of a physical altercation to show up to the hearing together? In what world do 2 people that just got into a physical altercation that, in the eyes of the university, apparently would result in a 1-year suspension, in what world do you want those 2 people talking to each other, coordinating meetup times to interact again? That makes no sense in the world. And this individual has not been a part of it, has not shown up, has changed stories, has altered statements, things like that. It seems like LeQuint's coming out here and putting his cards on the table and saying, this is what I did. This is where I stand. And he is being, apparently, he's the punishment for every human involved in this story. It doesn't feel right. I work in a high school. I work in a public school district. When you get in trouble for a fight, whatever that might be, right, a violation of your student athlete code of conduct, the punishment is 1/4 of your season. If you're a football player playing 12 games, that's 3 games. If you are, I don't know, a baseball player playing 20 games, you lose 4 games or 5 games of your 20, right? You lose 1/4 of your season. This punishment seems exceedingly intense for the given situation. And I think it's been handled incredibly poorly because of the number of other opportunities that you had to enforce this punishment and say, hey, you made a mistake. You got in a fight. Sit out the bowl game. Or, hey, you got in a fight. You need to be punished. We need some sort of action. You're suspended for spring practice the year it happened. Instead, we see a delay in, addressing this, in giving a punishment, and you're taking him out for a full season. That just seems way too harsh. It doesn't make sense. And it lacks a principle, in all honesty, right? You get kids that are in trouble, and I had friends of mine that got in trouble in early on in college, and their punishment was to write an essay on 44 things they would like to accomplish before they leave Syracuse. LeQuint Allen gets in an altercation, and his punishment is a year-long suspension. How does that add up? How does that make sense? Right? These people are put, you write 44 things and you're put on academic probation or whatever it is. You're put on probation where your next offense is a big issue. That's not the case with LeQuint Allen. I'm saying you can suspend him for a game or two. You can punish him if you feel that's correct. But a full season, which will in theory result in him being unable to continue to attend Syracuse. I don't know how things work in terms of a suspension, if he could transfer out, or if this suspension, because it is just a university suspension, right? Syracuse University, a private entity that can provide its own disciplinary action outside of what the Syracuse Police Department does, right? Syracuse takes precedent. Their decision looms large, and the Syracuse police, they can't do anything. So LeQuint Allen is left, as a result, having to sue the university is the only course of action that can happen in a July 19th, I believe, appeal to the situation, which I think is the second appeal that will be made on this given ruling. You're ruining a kid's life. A guy who, I'm not saying this is a reason to change the punishment, but a kid who's been through a lot since this incident happened. LeQuint Allen's father passed tragically. I believe he was shot and killed a few months after the incident. It's a kid who's been dealing with a ton, and a guy who is looking to channel, emotion, things like that, into an athletic season, into a high level football season. And my next thing that I point out is Dino Babers. Like, what's going on, dude? I'm not looking for, and I want this crystal clear, I'm not looking for special treatment for an athlete here. I am not saying this is a student athlete, so we need to look the other way. Wrong. I'm not here for that. I don't want anyone to believe that is my case here. That is my thought process. That is my frustration, because that is the furthest thing from this. But Dino, what's going on, man? You're preaching Ohana, you're preaching family, you're preaching having everyone's back. What are we doing? What are you doing for LeQuint Allen? Look across high-level college football. Football discipline is handled in-house. John Bolajak put a story out, I believe on Instagram, talking about how Coach Boeheim would have had this situation figured out. And in the words of John Bull, he said Boeheim figured something out in his situation, which was, quote, worse than this. Dino, figure something out for your boy. This is your starting running back. This is an integral part of a year that is as important as humanly possible for you, as you have, 24 games left on your contract at Syracuse, and outside of 2 recruits, there's very little going for you in terms of extending your time here. Figure this out. Or is this maybe you don't want to be a part of it? Is that what we're seeing? I don't know. That's just a hypothetical idea, right? But this is, and I don't want to get into this, but I spent 4 years at Syracuse between 2017 and 2021, where a lot of things happened that weren't good for the university. And they all seemingly were handled terribly. And I see an incident here that really shouldn't be that big a deal. Do you know how many fights happen in off-campus apartment parties or in a bar on campus, in not saying they, whatever. I've witnessed people dragged out of Harry's for being in fights. I've witnessed people dragged out of Lucy's, now Orange Crate, for fights, right? Fights happen in an alcohol environment, in a college environment, in this situation. How many of these individuals are then suspended for a full year because of a discrepancy at a party? Is this a case of, because LeQuint Allen is more known, is more, I don't want to say more important, is more public than your typical John Doe on campus? This is the result. It gets brought to campus security, things like that. It seems like from every report, the incident that, or the individual that was on the other side of this, was instigating, was looking for trouble. And it seems like he had his eyes on Syracuse football for the trouble that he wanted to get into, as the issue started with him calling out Deuce Chestnut. And then it continues when LeQuint Allen shows up. And that whole situation. This seems like a lot is happening as a result of who these people are. And they are student athletes, and they're better known, and they're more public figures in a college campus, in a college town, that this is being a far, far more escalated situation. And it is disappointing. And it's frustrating because the implications on LeQuint Allen's life really cannot be measured. And I'm just wondering, what's next, right? Where is the punishment for the other involved? Where is the precedent for a full season suspension and a 2-semester suspension for a fight at a party or a gathering outside of, school grounds? Or I guess they technically own UV, in its own thing. What's going on? Figure it out. I have faith that things will work itself out. And I think LeQuint Allen has some grounds to get this minimized. And I think if you came out and said, hey, and I've made this point a few times in this episode today, but if you came out and you said, hey, LeQuint Allen got in an altercation, he punched another student multiple times, and as a result, we're suspending him the first 2 games of the season. And maybe Dino makes that statement, or that news comes from Dino instead of Kent Severud or wherever, or the legal department, for whatever reason. I don't think you have this issue. I think it's a talking point for a little bit. You're frustrated, you talk about it, and then game 3, you see LeQuint Allen back on the field. This is only as big a deal as it is because it appears like this is a giant botch from the university and a mishandling and blowing out of proportion of a situation that really shouldn't be all too known, all too notable, all too important. Miss the bowl game that happens a few weeks after the altercation. Miss spring season. Miss the first 2 games. Miss the first 3 games. You're taking a kid's scholarship away for a year. You're taking a kid's livelihood, football, away for a year. You're taking his education away for a year. There are long-lasting impacts on this decision. And the only one that seems like is getting the brunt end of this deal is LeQuint Allen. There are multiple individuals throwing punches. More than one person involved in the altercation, yet LeQuint Allen is the only one known to have been punished in any capacity. Let me know your thoughts. Tweet at LO_Syracuse over on Twitter. Join the conversation in the comments here on YouTube if that's how you are taking in this episode of Locked On Syracuse. What are your thoughts on the convo? Did I miss an important detail? Am I wrong on something? I tried to make sure I used proper jargon to give attribution to where info was coming from. But did I miss a detail? Did I miss something relevant? Has new stuff come to light that I might have not seen? Let me know. But until next time, I'm Owen Valentine. Thank you so much for tuning into Locked On Syracuse and making Locked On Syracuse your first listen today and every day. Free and available wherever you get podcasts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Have a good evening. This is going to be posted late, and another episode, or maybe two, out tomorrow. Be kind. Make somebody smile.